Channel 4 News with 5-time Emmy Award-winning anchor, Ron Burgundy.
Hey, I'm here with Mr. Joe Mohorn, who is a test manager at Lockheed Martin. Now, Mr. Mohorn, why did you choose this career?
To be honest with you, when I graduated high school, I never knew that I would be in the aerospace business. I grew up on a farm in North Carolina. I had no clue that I would be involved in such things. I had a long history in I was in the Air Force prior to Lockheed Martin, and so part of my responsibilities were working with launch vehicles and missiles like Titans and Titan III launch vehicles. And so I had a lot of experience with the actual checkout and function of those type of equipment. But, it just so happened that I was in the right place at the right time, and my job skills I had were the correct skill sets that Lockheed Martin was looking for.
So how did you use mathematics in your job?
Big satellites. When they initially start, when the motors really start, there is a huge vibration, and it'll get up to like 150 decibels above the threshold. I mean, everything is just shaking because you're trying to lift let's hypothetically say a 10,000-pound satellite off into space. And you also have all that fuel and all the weight of that vehicle. So there's just a lot of percussions that take place, and all of that energy then is fed through that satellite. Or in fact, you can see the skin on boxes. I mean, it'll just wave just like this. The challenge that you have then is you will destroy electronic equipment if you're unable to measure the vibe and the acoustic levels that hardware is going to see. And basically my job was to verify that the equipment functioned properly before it was launched into space.
So what mathematics was needed in preparation for your job?
I got to geometry and trig. I never had calculus, did not need calculus in my job where I was.
So, Mr. Mohorn, what was most difficult about your job?
What really was most difficult about my job was expectation. You receive a whole bunch of hardware items from other vendors, and you have to integrate that equipment together. And then it doesn't matter if it's software, mechanical, or electrical. You have to integrate those three together to do what you had to do. And initially it always seemed that requirements were always weak. And it's tough to get requirements so that you get all three of those working, so you can just hypothetically move an antenna on a vehicle, and you have to rotate it because you need to it's like on the shuttle. You had to move that arm on that shuttle so you could go out and pick up something or place something in space. And so all three of those elements had to work together for it to function. I ran the arm into a wall and damaged it, and now what do I have to do? And there's only one like it. You can't go to the store and buy another. So those are the challenges that you have in this job, but the rewards are out of this world.
So what other types of math did you use in your job?
I did not use math much. We had an engineering department and a software department, and basically what they did is they determined if software is required, and then we had another organization that already had an acoustic chamber set up that we could put these vehicles in it. So there was a whole group of people who were acoustic engineers, And so they set up the levels that it would be seen, whatever math, generated the algorithms, etc., whatever they needed. And so what happened is then they brought it to us and we did the functional checkout.
If you could go back to the same job, would you choose it?
I would go back tomorrow. When you're involved in building satellites and launch vehicles, it's extremely tiring and frustrating some days, as I just said. But you know, it's like a lot of other things. It's like these math courses, these pre-calculus courses that you're taking. You know, you think they're really tough now, but when you complete it and the professor or your teacher says, "Noah, you made a B on that," you sort of exhale, you know. He said, "Man, that wasn't so hard after all, or as hard as I thought it was." That's the way it is when you're working in an aerospace company or business. You're trying to meet schedules and deadlines and budget and make sure that you meet a launch window, especially if you're working with satellites and launch vehicles, because you just cannot slip the date. So pressure comes. But that sort of comes with that job.
Compelling and rich. Well, that's going to do it for all of us here at Channel 4 News. You stay classy, San Diego. I'm Ron Burgundy.